Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to 2 Samuel, chapter number 15. And we see here how Absalom begins his quest to take over the kingdom from King David. And if you remember when we talked about chapter 14, we discussed that Absalom really is not a good man. You know, we see he's already murdered his brother. Then we pick it up in chapter 15. We see that he devises this plan to go ahead and take the kingdom from King David. And you see that right off the beginning, verse 15 adds with after this has happened. So this is right after King David says, okay, you're welcome back into the presence of the king. Right after this has happened, he immediately starts this plan to take over the kingdom. So you know, my heart and my feeling is that it was premeditated, that while he had the couple years away, that he was exiled from the king, from the king's presence, that the devil just worked on him. And see, that's what happens in isolation. When you're isolated, the devil just works on you and works on you and works on you. And now he has this plan that he's going to take over the kingdom. But, you know, you see as it starts that what Absalom does is he gets up early in the morning and he goes to the city gates where the people who have grievances would come to the king for judgment and come to the king's council for judgment. And Absalom tells them, well, there isn't a deputy here today. And he continues to do that. So he begins to stir the heart against the king. Why won't the king hear my case? He begins to stir up the hearts of the people. And then he adds to that, he says, but if I were your king, I would hear your case. And so he begins turning the hearts of the people from the king to himself, one by one, slowly. And we see in verse 7, it says, now it came to pass after 40 years. So Absalom had been doing this for 40 years. And you go on, you read that he takes the hearts of the people and David has to escape and flee. What I want to get at is what I want to talk about here is that the enemy, the devil, he throws these little jabs at us throughout our lives. He just throws them and throws them and throws them just to get us off the path of what God has us on. He just tries to get us to slow down, to get us to stop, to get us to move just a little bit. But he ultimately has this long-range plan, as we see here. He has this long-range plan of total destruction. Total division. He has that is his long-range plan. You see, the enemy isn't just throwing little darts at you right now. He's devised a plan to ultimately destroy you and divide you from the love of God. That is his ultimate plan. But as you read on, you see David continues to say, if I have found favor in the Lord's eyes. You see, David continues to keep that relationship with God alive, continues to look towards Christ, continues to look towards his God. That's what we need to do. We need to just keep our eyes focused on the Lord. You see, he gives us, you know, when we read Ephesians 6, we see the wonderful armor that he has given us. And David uses that helmet of salvation to protect the knowledge. He knows that God is the one in control. He knows that he is God's. And he uses that helmet of salvation throughout this time of fleeing. And we need to do the same. We need to always remember we're God's. We need to always remember he's in control. We need to always remember that we belong to a kingdom, a kingdom that is greater than the kingdom that's on this earth. You know, the devil does have these plans. Yes, he does. But I have my Jesus. And so do you. Hold on to that. Stand on the word of God. Keep that faith until that faith turns into redemption. Keep that faith until you no longer need it, which is the day you're standing before him and he's saying, well done, my good and faithful servant. I love you all. Have a super, super day.